Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Randy, the news guy. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Let's see. Today, we're supposed to have Andrew Molz on from Monster Agency. I met Andrew. Let me pull this off. I met Andrew a few weeks ago, actually, at Legit Live. And Andrew is solid, man. I'm really excited to get him on board. Um, Little housekeeping. Hey, Andrew's going to jump on here in a second. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, drop them into the live chat and we will get rolling with that. Also, hey, like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Always love all of that. All right. Andrew has joined the platform. Let me get him live. Boom. There he is.
Hey,
Andrew.
how's it going?
Hey, it's good. I love guys like you. You come on and you like do some branding, get the hat on. That's smart. I know it. I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
was I was trying to get on. It was only allowing me to open this up in Chrome.
Oh, that is bizarre. All right. Well, you're live. You're good. Where are you joining us from, Andrew? You're in Texas. Is that right?
Yeah, it's north of Dallas, but Dallas, Texas, to be.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah. All right, y'all. All right. So Andrew is one of the founders and operators of, I'll drop this in the chat here as well, Monster Agency. Let me even share my screen. I'll pull it up. Uh, and here is the URL if you want to go check Andrew out and his great agency. Andrew, I've got a ton of questions I want to ask you about, specifically around TikTok. And I was kind of sharing with folks, just as you were coming on, uh, I actually met you and enjoyed your presentation at Legit Live, which was fantastic. But you shared so much stuff around TikTok, and I have to be honest, I don't have a TikTok account. I don't know that I've even actually been on the platform, and so, you know, man, and I thought I got to get this guy on the show. I want to talk to him about, you know, uh, some of the stuff that you're doing with ads and search ads, and then specifically as well, just to have you expound a bit on TikTok and where you see that whole thing is going. So that's kind of the premise. And man, I really appreciate you jumping on board and doing it. We got various folks that are on. Terry Samuels, if you recall, Andrew. Terry was at Legit Live,
yeah, I
and
remember Terry.
Pamela. Pamela is one of our hot off the press groupies. She's always out here. So thanks for joining us,
Yeah.
Pamela. I appreciate it. So with all that said, I think, however, Andrew, and I know we tried to do a push out a little bit about who you are, but why don't you give us a little bit of background? Because you've got Monster Agency, but you are an entrepreneur at heart and have been involved in a lot of different enterprises. Love to hear a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that are successful in internet marketing come from backgrounds where they did things and they had these careers, but they were never really fulfilled or didn't really like conforming to that status quo. But they were just kind of waiting for something to take off that they were doing online. And usually, it's for most people I know, it's not the first thing, the second thing, or the third thing that they do. It usually is like the third thing or the fourth thing, somewhere around those lines, where they've persevered long enough and learned things with every failure that they finally got something that they've dived into that's clicking. Um, about me, I'm from Houston, Texas. That's where I was born and raised. Went to Texas Tech, out in Lubbock from Houston, and then came to Dallas, Texas. Really liked the area and just kind of set up shop here. I was originally in healthcare marketing early on when my parents quit paying for college. I needed to get a job going, and that worked, and I did well in that. Um, but again, it's like you take a job because it's money there when you're younger. But are you doing what you really want to be doing? Probably not. Um, I guess thankfully I wasn't. I didn't climb the ladder high enough to where I was stuck in a position, and I didn't have a family at that point in time, so I wasn't kind of forced into staying within any kind of specific career out of responsibilities and things of that sort. So fast forward a little bit, had my daughter in 2015, and I've done things online for a very long time. And in that spirit of trying to get more money coming in, now that you've got another mouth to feed, I started a website up, and that grew out a lot with drop shipping. I
Mm.
did that, grew that out a ton with my wife. Exited that via an acquisition,
Huh?
and after that, I I had still been doing advertising, like digital marketing, for some people that knew what I did, because I was doing it for myself successfully, and I just decided to go the agency route and do it for other people because it's what I enjoyed and what I was pretty good at, and that's how I came about to be with Monster Agency, and forming that up.
Hmm. That's interesting. I'm curious. So you're quite humble. You actually had a very successful e-commerce site doing a pretty significant amount of revenue. Um, and you sold that, exited that, um, and then doing the agency. A lot of times these guys like you who have had great success in kind of doing their e-com site or their various sites and have the exit, instead of going the agency route, they tend to like, well, I'm going to do this work and I'm going to do it for me to build up another property, another enterprise, something like that, versus going the agency route. Can you dig into that a little bit more? Why you decided like, yeah, I think agency is a much better, or why
Yeah,
was a better fit for you maybe?
I had some other ideas on things. I took about a year off from working, and just kind of I got married at the time as well, um, and so I took about a year off. I had some software actually that I had created with a buddy of mine, and it was for the real estate industry, for realtors, and it was using Facebook's APIs. And this is back in like 2018 whenever I exited, but it was using Facebook's APIs, the
Hmm.
software that I had for the real estate industry. It would basically auto post to their Facebook and to their Twitter, and I think to another account on the back end, like just basically a post to keep them fresh, keep them updated. And we had a bunch of different posts, and it was like $39 a month. And before the drop shipping business, I had this business where we would do custom designs for the real estate industry. If you wanted basically your Facebook page and your Twitter page and your LinkedIn page and your YouTube page to have all the same branded uniform identity, for like $300, we would come in and we would just reskin everything and make it all to look like your branding, your image, your name, the picture of the realtor on there and
Mhm,
stuff.
mhm,
And in doing that, I was doing that via email marketing and just getting realtor email lists from state by state. And then I would finish that up, and then they'd say, "Hey, do you do anything else?" And I got asked that enough times to where I just came up with something that would be something that could be offered, that I could make a little bit of residual money from,
right.
that would actually offer some value, which is the real estate posting. And I used to use ifttt.com, and I
Yeah.
would create a WordPress website, which would be the main hub, and then I would connect it to whatever realtor that I was doing this for, to their Facebook and to their Twitter account, so that whenever I would post out something on the real estate kind of WordPress hub, it would go out to all the pages connected, and that would be kind of considered like their post to their page.
Mhm,
But we refined it with the APIs and all that stuff with Facebook. But then Cambridge Analytica happened, and then they started revoking a lot of Facebook APIs, and the writing was kind of on the wall not to build a business on the back of another business.
Right.
And that seemed risky to me, and so that's why I had jumped into the agency space and the agency route. Is because I ended up folding that business. We had a handful of customers that were on that monthly subscription and billing, but I just saw it as too risky to build that up to like 500 to 1,000 users on there, and then let's say Facebook suspends some sort of API, and then everybody's upset and complaining. Your original question was why I wouldn't just spin up another Shopify store. um, I'd looked at a couple others. And I was trying to find some new and good products. One of them was these little toy AR guns, augmented reality, and you would put and this is back in 2018, but you would put your phone on it, you would connect it through Bluetooth, and then you could hold a gun like this, and you could pull a little trigger and like shoot things. And I did that for a little bit, and maybe like a handful of months, and that was too difficult because they resembled guns and things like that, and so that was going to be something that I already knew was going to be something that would strike out on.
Yeah, that'd be challenging.
I tried a makeup thing that would sell makeup brushes and stuff like that, and then just getting my wife's feedback, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work either. And to be honest, from all the work that we put in on the e-commerce site that I exited, I just decided it's not something that I wanted to do again and run with, because I learned way too many things that I never wanted to learn with being, an expert in merchant processing and how not to get your merchant account shut down if you get too many chargebacks. Granted, I was dealing with drop shipping, so shipping times are always insane, and you're having to talk people off the edge, talk people off the ledge when their product is like not arrived in 21
Right.
days, and it's in a shipping container in the Pacific. So I just decided to not sell any kind of product at all, but do the service. Plus, it's more profitable. There's no overhead.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Aside from people, right, and other
yeah.
stuff, but yeah, yeah. Well, let me flash pop this thing up here again. So now, kind of flash forward. You founded 2019, if I recall. Is that right? Monster
Yeah.
Agency. Yeah. I find this interesting. So in that as well, your primary services, you're doing ads
Mm-hmm.
on different platforms, right? But email marketing and some CRO as well. So you were doing digital marketing, you were doing full SEO, I'm sure, with all of the other stuff and activities that you were doing. Why are you just focusing on ads right now?
Well, for one, it's if I'm overseeing things, I kind of have to be quite knowledgeable on all of the different verticals, and those are a lot of the verticals that I am knowledgeable on. Um, the ad side seems to be the most profitable, the one that's kind of most enjoyable, provided it's the right types of clients. We try to
Mm,
find clients that are already generating revenue. Usually, we will take on some startups and stuff, but those have their own
mhm,
separate sets of risks. But
mhm.
companies that are already doing revenue, they have they've already got a product that's validated or a service that's validated. If they're generating revenue, they probably already have a conversion process on their website that is in fact convertible. Um, so those kinds of things are things that we look for, because if we're starting off with a brand new brand and we have to launch them, we're dealing with variables that are just outside of what we do with ads, because
Mm.
ads are its own variable. If it was a guarantee, and I tell this to prospects on calls all the time, if this stuff was a guarantee and there was a blueprint for it, I wouldn't be on the call. I'd be on an island somewhere because it'd be that easy. But um, this stuff has inherent risks. It's advertising. It's risk of reward or risk of loss,
Right.
and the variables that are involved with an unvalidated product are just that. The product is unvalidated. It could have no product demand, and then the actual website conversion process. Does your website convert? Are there a lot of friction points on it? How smooth of a transaction is it? So those things are all outside the world of ads and what ads can influence, because we can buy all the traffic in the world if you spend $1 million a month, but if your page converts at zero, that's what your number is going to be. So when we find the brands that are actually spending money and they're generating money already from their website, we can usually plug and play and come in and do some different things differently for them that'll drive the needle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you pull in a new client, do you kind of go in and do an audit, so to speak, on their conversion optimization, on the CRO? And then when you do that, do you provide it as like, hey, here are some changes we would recommend, or do you say, you need to do this, we can do it, and you upsell it? So there's a great
Yeah.
opportunity, right, to upsell. So you can certainly just manage, do their ads, but you can, as an agency, it's a great way to kind of go in and upsell and grab some additional revenue from that standpoint.
Yeah, we can. What I'll usually do is if it's someone who's coming on for ads, and let's say they're coming on for Facebook ads or Facebook and Google or Facebook and TikTok, just generally speaking, we'll come in and do just that in the beginning. And if there are sticky points on their website where the conversion process we feel like is off, I'll bring that stuff up to them just in a loom, and I'll look through their website and just spot out some things that I see that might be a little bit peculiar or might be preventing things from converting a bit better, and give them
Yeah.
some tips, and hopefully that they can fix that on their own. I actually try not, if it's a brand new client, I try not to offer a lot of services because I want to do whatever we're hired for. I want to do that really well and build some rapport and get their confidence in what we're doing. And then if I really feel like it's going to improve things, then I will say, hey, this is what we offer for this, and we can do it for you. We'll give you a little bit of a price break on it if you're bundling things together, such as the ads management and the CRO, or the email marketing, stuff like that.
Right.
But that's how you will usually approach it.
Nice, nice. I think CRO is fascinating, and some of it, there's specifics you got to do, but some of it is kind of an art a bit, right? And some of it is science. You're uh, exercising different things around psychology and how human visualize things and what they do when they kind of land on a site. But if we're looking at just this, before the scroll on your site, what are some like classic, highly effective CRO specifics that you see here? Like, yeah, this is why we do this.
I would say like the most probably common things are just like the headline, what you're saying above the fold. And for those of
Mm,
people that don't understand or know above the fold, it goes back to when you had newspapers and they were folded in half. Above the fold is everything you can see. Below the fold is the things that are when you fold the paper out. But having just that big call to action above the fold. Sometimes I like putting the videos above the fold just so people can see it, and then of course having the calls to action, the buttons above the fold too. And one thing that I see not really done as often as it should be is just having a sticky header, so that like
mm,
when you scroll down the website right now, that
yep,
button on the top right is always on the screen, so that you can always
yep,
have that call to action up
yep,
there no matter where you go.
yep. Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love it. Uh, what is this monster mode? I didn't even click on that. What is that going to do?
It just turns the website into a dark theme.
Oh, I was like, I saw that. I thought, well, I'm going to wait until I get Andrew on here, and then I'll, like, I wasn't sure if this was going to
Don't
nuke
click
on me
that.
or something. Yeah, I'm like, who knows what to expect? Well, this is great. I love it. Um, let's talk about. I mean, you've been recognized, Monster Agency recognized. I got to get the quote here exactly. Tried to do a little homework. Uh, recognized by Facebook for your innovative ad strategies. Can you give us a sneak peek a little bit, some comments maybe on those cutting edge tactics that you're using?
Well, I'm not sure when that excerpt was quoted. It might have been from one of the case studies that we've done, um,
Probably.
which might be like a year, 2 years ago. I feel like the way Facebook has gone, and I'm just trying to be absolutely 100% authentic with this stuff. And then I feel like the
Love it.
way Facebook has gone, over the last like 12 to 18 months or so is they're pushing advertisers, and actually you'll see this a lot more with other ad platforms such as Google. But you'll see these platforms pushing people towards this broad targeting and this blind faith in the platform of, hey, just give us your best assets, tell us the kinds of people that you're trying to reach, and then we'll do the rest, and we'll go out and get those people. There are some things you can still do on Facebook that are kind of clever and things like that. But from our perspective, what we see working the best is just really good creative to be able to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. And the days of being able to ad hack and kind of slice and dice these different types of audiences based on the actions people are taking, and building out lookalike audiences based on these very specific types of avatars of people who are doing specific things.
Right.
It almost feels like those days are few and far in between, and they want everybody to do broad targeting. Advantage Plus is what it's referred to on Facebook.
Right.
And you look at the audience size, and it's somewhere like 250 million people, and there's not a lot of difference between cold audiences and warm audiences who are your actual customers or clients. Same thing with Google. They've got their performance max campaigns. TikTok has a version of this called Smart Performance Campaigns, SPCs. And that's what I feel like these platforms are doing. They're pushing people more towards just these broad audiences. Have faith in our machine learning. Trust the machines. Mark Zuckerberg was quoted in some sort of recent interview. I don't remember where it was. It might have been one of his expos where he's talking. But they want to get Facebook to a point where you just tell them what you're looking for and who you're looking for it from, and then they'll do the rest. There's no setting up really ad campaigns or specifics behind it. It will be that automated in the future. And I don't really like that, to be honest, because a lot of the stuff that you can do within advertising is being creative and doing different things. And it's like they're removing more and more abilities for you to have more manual controls over what you're trying to do, so that they eventually push people into these broad targets and broad categories and audiences. Not as fun as being able to target based off of your creative.
Right. So the first thing that kind of comes to mind, and certainly, if you're spending money on ads, you want to know, like, well, what's more effective, right? The kind of the path that Facebook is and the other platforms are going down in this broad kind of just let us do it for you, kind of fire and forget, so to speak, is that mentality, I think. Or, kind of what it has been, and probably where you would say you have the ability to lend your expertise to. Have you seen like a degradation of performance in these broad-based kind of campaigns?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of why we started offering the conversion rate optimization, is because about like 18, we started offering this like early last year, around like January almost, but we had been trying to build something out for it. The degradation of revenue and leads and things like that from clients, when you only have the ability to run ads, and if your ads aren't hitting, they're not doing what they need to be doing, and that's it. That's your only lever you have to be able to impact clients' performance. You need to be able to do something else to be able to control that more and control performance. And that's what adding in CRO can do. Is that if a client is hitting certain specific metrics, especially more so for e-com, I feel like it definitely works a lot better. But like if you're only hitting a certain number from revenue and your return on ad spend, and you want to get it higher, sometimes the easiest way to be able to get it higher is by improving the conversion rate. I've got this conversion rate calculator thing that will show you where you would be at if you were to be able to improve your return on ad spend. If you were to improve that, how much you would need to improve it from the conversion rate to be able to improve your return on ad spend by 1 full point. And for some clients that are at like a point, let's say 0.7 conversion rate, if we improve it to like a 1x, then sometimes that can improve their return on ad spend from like being a 1x to like a 2.5x, and it can be a game changer for them. So
Yeah.
that's been something for performance related kinds of things. Um, that's a lever for us to be able to pull to be able to impact performance. But of course, it only really affects, in my opinion, the clients that have already reasonable traffic, where they've got at least 10,000 visitors minimum
Mm,
every month to their website. Otherwise, if you got like 200 visitors to your website a month, there's not a lot you can do because you can't really run a lot of tests and be able to
right.
figure out
Right.
who's doing what best.
Yeah. 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 The traffic is real critical from a testing standpoint on your site, to be able to be sure you've got enough data that's coming in that you can really kind of measure the effectiveness. I'm curious with that broad, if ad platforms are leaning toward and are moving toward this kind of more broad based targeting, does that then as well change your strategy on CRO on the site in thinking that you might be getting more traffic that is not warm, as much as cold? And so does that change kind of your approach then to CRO and what you do,
No,
what you say?
no, because at the end of the day, it's traffic, and then we can go and look in, Google Search
Mm,
Console. We can look at Google Analytics,
mm,
whatever heat map software that's recording screen sessions and actions. You can go in there and you can look at all that stuff, and you can determine what are the best products from buying the traffic. What are the best products that people are going to? Where are people finding themselves? What are they typing into search to find specific products? Do we offer something like that they're searching for?
mm,
There's still a lot of insights that you can mine from the data that comes through based on people's actions when you're buying that traffic. Um, and there's things that you can do to be able to remedy that stuff to be able to improve not only your conversions but your website's revenue as well.
mhm, mhm. Love it. All right. All right. So now I want to talk about some specific platforms and talk to you about TikTok, because that was the thing that I just like, oh my gosh, you were blowing me away in your insights on TikTok and the strength of TikTok. And then, which made me think, I'm missing the boat here on this platform. And then just, uh, I don't know, a week or two later, I'm going to share the screen here. Um, the Wall Street Journal, this came out a few days ago, talking about Google's grip on search and search ads and their market share. I don't know if you had seen this article or not, but it really goes on to talk about, like, over the last several years, where Google's ad share on search advertising has been dropping, dropping. Now it's less than 50%, 48% as a market share on search ads and all of these other platforms. The article goes in and talks about several of the other platforms, but the one that I thought was that struck me again, and is certainly, knowing you were coming on the show, I'm like, oh, this is incredible, is TikTok, and just where this is going, and how it is growing somewhere in this, while TikTok's US ad revenue is expected to jump 38%, so that's their ad revenue. It still is only about 3.4% of the US digital ad market, so to speak. um, but they've got such massive volume at a 3 billion daily searches, right? That is crazy. And this stat, 23% of users searching for something within 30 seconds of opening the app. So, I mean, the activity around the platform is pretty massive. I mean, I think all of those platforms are, it's just mind boggling at the sheer volume that flows to it. But as you presented at Legit Live, you really see TikTok as like, man, there's an opportunity certainly for brands to go and start generating some engagements, and certainly at the end of the day, revenue. I don't know. I tried to think about, questions. I would love for you just to, like, hey, tell us about TikTok and your experience with TikTok, and how are you successful on it?
To speak to that article that you had up, I will sometimes go through just when I'm on calls with potential clients, prospects, and we're going through TikTok and if it's going to be a fit and things like that. Um, as I'm doing the screen, I do a ton of screen sharing when I'm doing it because there's just so much
Yeah,
information
yeah,
that I have to go through within 30 minutes between videos, what makes a good video, and just like all these different use case points of why a brand should probably be on TikTok. I do pull up, I'll just go to Google, I'll type in Google versus TikTok SEO, or SEO TikTok versus Google, things like that. And there's article after article of TikTok emerging as this disruption to where people's normal browsing habits are starting to change. And a little bit of that, in my opinion, is Google itself. They did it to themselves with all
yeah.
this nonsense that they jam pack on a page. And then you've got like a service ads. You got like Google Guaranteed. You've got Google Maps. You've got the Google Sponsored. Then the Google Maps. Then you've got like a page one listing nowadays is basically like position number 8 after you go so far down the page. And then when you get there, a lot of times they're owned by these 800-pound gorillas, where it's like it could be Thrillist or some sort of listicle that is spending money for whatever reason. Like I think I mentioned to somebody, I was in New York for a TikTok event for agencies in April, and I was looking for a really good restaurant to go to in New York. And
Right.
if I type in best restaurant New York on Google, I'm going to get a
Yeah.
bunch of nonsense articles that are just like kind of like pay to play, and I won't be able to see the actual place. If I go to best restaurant New York and I type that in on TikTok, I'm going to get all these different people's experiences. I can see the restaurant, I can see like how it is, maybe potentially where it is, and I get a way better idea of what that restaurant would be in that experience. So that's just a little bit of how people's browsing, their searching habits are changing, and it's
Mhm.
changing a lot with the younger generation. I don't know what they call it, Gen Z or whatever it is. I lose track of all the acronyms, um, but they're the ones that are kind of spearheading that move. Um, to speak to the search thing, though, TikTok did just release, maybe it was like a month or so ago, but it's in a few of our ad accounts, where if you go to website conversions as the goal, below where it says smart performance campaigns, there's a toggle switch where you can click to a search campaign instead of a um, basically an interest based or a lookalike or an audience based. So like most ad platforms, you upload a list or you select interests, people who have an interest in Wall Street Journal or the Motley Fool, and then you can kind of like slice and dice your way to somebody who might be an educated or accredited investor, for example. Well,
Mhm.
with TikTok's new search functionality, if you're doing Google ads and you're running Google ads and you've got a lot of spend on Google, you can then export maybe like your top 40 keywords from Google and you can import them into a list on TikTok. They don't even have the ability to select interests on the search on the search version of the ad campaigns. You can only upload or select keyword lists, and they will also show you keywords and with the keyword search volume of specific ones that you might be searching for. And you can upload your top 40 from Google, and your ad for TikTok would then be displayed under search results. And when you type in a search result on TikTok, it's going to show you video after video after video. But in one of those videos, it might be in like the third or fourth row, it'll say sponsored. And we're testing this now with some other specific clients. And you've got maybe about 3 or 4 different words to be able to have like a headline down below that video. And then
Mm.
the video, you need to have a video that looks very attention grabbing and maybe has like a pain point or some sort of hook at the very top that prompts people to want to watch. If you are talking about just something ridiculous like Bitcoin or something like that, an example of a video that would be very flashy would be something like, um, big tech doesn't want you to know below it. And then on the top, the video could be
Mm.
something like how I print money with Bitcoin every month or something like that. And then, you click on it. It's almost like the old school ways of just having, like an attention, almost like a too good to be true type of ad at the very top to grab people's attention. And then it's almost like a bait and switch, but it's
Mm.
not a bait and switch. If you're offering something, you're just presenting a really good hook so that
Right.
hopefully people aren't feeling bait and switch, that there are actually coming and exploring and discovering some sort of product. But that part of the TikTok machine is really cool because all these platforms incentivize and push people to use their new products that they release, the new features that come out. And generally speaking, when you do adopt those and you're an early adopter of some of these new functions that they've got, they'll reward you with either really low costs on that stuff and you're first to market on it, and you've got a nice little honey hole that you can expose for as long as it's available, or until people start to do videos on it and other people start to do it, and so and such. But we're going to be trying that feature out on a lot of different accounts, especially ones where we're running their Google ads and their TikTok ads, just to see how good that performs. So I'm excited about that feature and that functionality because it's something that's a little bit different, especially for these people that are very heavy on Google and they're not as heavy on TikTok, because their products require a bit more, either a bit more consideration, or they're maybe just a bit more niche.
A lot of great stuff you shared out there. I do, just to even kind of start in thinking about TikTok, are you thinking that, I mean, in general, the demographic of TikTok, is it just right now just skewing younger, and younger meaning what, I guess, through your
I
experience?
mean, like, if we want to go like youngest, I'd say maybe like 15 to like 34. However, the normal kind of bracket is like 18 to 34. However, those other buckets of like 35 to 44, 45 to 54 and up, they're growing all the time. As you know, a lot of their growth came from the pandemic, and people sharing videos of TikTok, and then you get a video on your phone shared from somebody, and it's TikTok.
Right.
You're like, what is this? And then you get enough of those ones to where you're browsing it in the browser mode that you're just like, okay, I'll just download the app and see all the features on it, and not post anything, just kind of watch, look, and lurk. And now it's just a part of everybody's normal kind of social browsing of like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and then you unplug and go back to work.
Right. Pamela asked a question actually that I had written down as well. Really was like kind of this cost comparison, ROI comparison between some of these different platforms. I mean, so you're working across, what I would say probably kind of all. You got Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok, Bing. How do these things kind of rank from an ROI standpoint? And is it, and I suppose that's even kind of difficult maybe to ask, only because, if you have, client A and they've got, a specific product, that may just perform better in Google ads than it's going to on TikTok, just because of the specific, right? The niche, or, what that particular product is. But can you provide a broad, like,
Yeah, we'll look at the we will look at the product and what it is that people are selling before we start to think about the specific platform, just to have an idea of where we feel like they should be. So something that's like a commodity, let's say like deodorant or toothbrush, that's going to be something you can push it on Facebook, you could push it on TikTok, and you create ad campaigns around it. However, when it comes to shifting people's actual day-to-day or monthly behavior that they've had for years and years, like they go get their deodorant at CVS when they're going to get their toothbrush or their tooth, it's very difficult to break people's behaviors and those patterns. So you really need to have a compelling offer to be able to push somebody to actually giving something a try, when their normal process is to go down the deodorant aisle and maybe smell the new deodorants and then pick the one they want. Versus just buying something online that they don't know how it works. They've never used it before. Will it smell good? There's a lot of really difficult barriers against that stuff. We've got a couple natural deodorant types of clients that we've worked with, and they've been very, very difficult to work with. Really brands that are commoditized types of brands where you would normally purchase those things in store as part of a habit or behavior, or if you would automatically go to Amazon, for example, for some of that stuff. And, we look at the product first. We kind of determine what it is, where it falls in the market. Do they need to be on Amazon? Should they be on Google? Would they get good results on Amazon or Google? I absolutely love to lay out all the potential problems that somebody could be facing on the platform that we think would be best for them, just so that they have all the information in front of them to
Mhm.
make their educated decision on, should I work with Monster Agency or not. When it comes to things that are a little bit more shiny, like, I don't know why I have this little thing right here. It says emotional support pickle. I think my daughter, my wife gave that to me, but it's just like, I just have it here on my desk. But like, that's something I wouldn't put on. I wouldn't put this on Amazon. Really, I might. I wouldn't really try and market this on Google. This is something that I would market on Facebook or TikTok, just based on the kind of like maybe virality and the unique parts of it and things like that. But when it comes to Facebook and TikTok, usually if I get that question of ROI on TikTok compared to Facebook, without really knowing too much about the brand, if I already know that they're on Facebook, then I will tell them that they can expect to see a 20 to 30% higher or lower than what they're presently getting on Facebook. It very well can be much higher on TikTok, and it can be lower as well. It just really depends on their product. Are they on TikTok Shop? Because that makes the checkout process quite seamless compared to like Facebook Shops and Instagram Shop, but it makes a really easy buying experience.
Mm.
But I will say that comparatively, the costs for both platform, there's going to be a difference there, and TikTok would be the more expensive one because you have to
Mm.
have good video. Not just videos. It can't
Right.
just be some kind of BS kind of video where it's nonsense and you're just doing it just to check off a box on your daily list. I was like, okay, I got my video done. It has to be a good video. And so in order to get good videos, you either need to get with creators or you need to get with an agency that's going to be able to do that stuff. You absolutely can spearhead this stuff. Anybody can do it. Most of the best people that I know in any kind of niche, they're very, very good because they've learned out of necessity, not out of being at a 9 to 5 and 5 o'clock hits. You take your hat off. These are people that have had their own businesses and they've learned because they're the last line of defense and they can't stop at 5. It's their money that they're putting up. And, they're at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. They're looking in forums and things like that, trying to find answers or somebody else who's had a similar problem that solved it. So those are the best kinds of individuals that are really good. And you can do your own videos on TikTok, of course.
Mm.
But it's going to take a little bit of time for you to understand the different types of things that you can do for videos, video effects, transitions. Usually what I'll tell brands is if they want to get really good at TikTok, just spend 20 or 30 minutes per day, browse TikTok, and then, just get acclimated to it. Start seeing what other people are doing on there and start thinking about where you could do things a little bit differently from a video that you saw that you really liked that somebody else did. Just put your own spin on it. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. That's a really good way to do it. And then using your TikTok page and posting those videos to your TikTok page, that's a really nice kind of testing playground for you, because if your video gets 500 views, then 500 views, then a video gets 1,500 or 2,000, well, that's a platform telling you, hey, this is really good content. You should put some ad spend behind it because it's favorable by the algorithm. The biggest cost comparison and really just the biggest difference is between Facebook and TikTok is the videos, because you're going to need like at least like 10 to 20 videos to start doing some decent stuff and really having a good clean test. You can't do it on 5. That's not enough. You might barely have one video that does well, and you can't have just one video that's leading the charge in a campaign with ad spend. It's got to have more supplementary types of videos inside of there with it. So you can go to platforms and you can buy creator videos, and normally they might charge like $100 to $200 per video. It might be decent, it might not. But if you take like that's like 100 videos, 10 of those 10. I'm sorry, $100 per video times 10 videos. You're at like $1,000 to maybe $2,000 in video costs just in trying to figure out the platform. Whereas on Facebook, you can whip up graphics really cheap. And you can start testing those and seeing how you can even do talking head videos. Like you can take, a clip of this video and run it as a potential ad and things like that. But TikTok, you've really got to have your videos fit that platform. You can't just really take Facebook video content that's vertical or Instagram content that's vertical and just make it fit. It has to be made for the platform.
Mm, mm.
That's
Yeah,
where the big difference is in
yeah,
cost.
yeah, yeah. That the cost of creativity of the content, and that is such a disparity, right? Such a massive difference between some of these platforms and TikTok. In that, think about it from a, uh, Google AdWords. You're just writing content, and you're writing some copy within, certain a framework of a Google ad, and what you're trying to target and trying to engage, versus, as you've described with the video with TikTok. I mean, it is much, much more highly engaged from an activity of what you have to do in order to actually succeed at it. Once you're successful at it, we'll say, like maybe I'm starting to pump out some good content, and, I've got the video, I'm doing okay with it. Once your experience or expertise level kind of goes up, then are you able then at that point to give a good comparison on the ROI?
Yeah, I think that the ROI comparatively to Facebook is, if you've got decent content on TikTok, I think you should probably be having a little bit better success than on Facebook. And the only
Mm,
reason I say that is because just, you know, blue ocean and red ocean. Facebook is a bloody red ocean. Anybody with
yeah,
a pulse that has a business that advertises is going to put ad spend on there because it's just so easy to be able to run ads and even have some degree of success if you absolutely know nothing. And this falls in to that thing that I mentioned and brings it back to where they want to have their campaigns being so easy to just build out that anybody can do it. And the
right,
easier that they make it, the more people that they have on their advertising getting
yeah,
some success, the more ad dollars they get. Um, so when you have these Advantage Plus campaigns that have no targeting whatsoever behind them, and you just throw in whatever creative you've got, and then now Facebook is spitting out AI generated text along with it, like they're just making it so easy for people to be able to put out ads on there. And if you can get success there, then okay, great. But like, I think long term success is a different story on Facebook. I got this list of a lot of the largest D2C companies in e-commerce, and I'll show that on my screen share sometimes during these calls too. And it's companies like Allbirds, Bombas, and not to shit on those people, but if you go to their TikTok pages, they don't look like companies that are doing like a quarter billion in revenue every year. Like it's like I think Allbirds is at around maybe like 15,000 followers. I think they just got a blue check on there. Their videos that they've got on their account are kind of all over the place. Same thing with Bombas. But if you go to Bombas Instagram page, and if you go to Allbirds Instagram page, use code. I'm just kidding. You go to their pages on Instagram, you're going to see a very commercial, well put together, stylized feed of products and product shots. But you go to TikTok and it's a disaster. It's
it's
like
a
they don't
mess.
know what they're doing. Again, no, not picking on them, but I'm just using it as an example. And there's case after case after case after case after case of these huge, large brands on there that are doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they're doing on TikTok. So if I'm somebody that is, again, I don't know if it's Gen Z or whatnot, but let's say I just graduated from college and in a mountain of debt. Um, I wouldn't be looking at building a brand on Facebook or Google. I'd be looking at building a brand on TikTok and doing things on TikTok and offering services on TikTok and things around that whole creator economy on TikTok because it's very much needed. And even huge, massive brands that can just throw money to make problems go away can't get it figured out.
So yeah, so as you describe it, it sounds like actually TikTok is a great platform for, as you describe, either people coming in new, wanting to build their brand, kind of from the ground up, because the heavyweights that do have a ton of money, and I loved how you phrase it, right? They can throw money at a problem and try to solve it, but they haven't figured it out. They haven't pivoted enough, I guess, in the platform to like be successful yet. So you can really be competitive with these larger powerhouses on products out there or services, because if you put in the time, you become experienced and expert in the platform. You can just step all over these big guys because they're just struggling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of the thing with brands is that they'll
yeah,
take a trend, they'll take something, and then they'll just completely ruin the trend,
mm,
and now it's like it's not funny anymore, or it's not a
right,
thing anymore. So there's moments on TikTok where there are these viral things that happen, and you've got to be somebody who's quick to market and creative and can take something that's an idea that somebody's done or a moment in this social media fast paced world and then take it and then do something with it. These brands that are so big that they have to have a roundtable conversation about using some sort of moment or some sort of viral thing that's happened. By the time that they're even shooting a video for it, the trend is already over. It's dead, and they're just beating a dead horse with now the content that they release.
yeah,
Um, so it's a cool. I like TikTok a lot because it allows anybody who is somewhat creative to get on there and start doing stuff.
yeah, yeah. How about I don't want to get I I swear I would love for you at some time. I would love to do another show with you and just go through like your presentation you did at Legit, and talking about some of the different things. That was a great presentation, just about how some very concrete kinds of things you can do on TikTok and with your ads. But um, I do want to ask about a couple of these other things. What about some of the forum type platforms like Reddit or Quora? They're doing ads. You've got an opportunity to do some ad spend on these platforms. What's your approach? What's your thought on these things at this point?
We've been asked a couple times on for like Reddit. Nothing really with Quora. We have an ad account to be able to run things out of on Reddit, but self-admittedly, we haven't done anything on there just yet. Um, I do my best to try to not have shiny object syndrome and just chasing anything that looks like it could be a new cool thing. I really like to let things
Mm,
move and maybe even to the point to where they grow without us being involved on it at all. But usually the best indicator for us is how much demand I'm being asked on calls.
mm,
Do you also I think over the last 3 years I've maybe been asked on Reddit like 3 times. So
mm,
I think for a lot of brands that the demand isn't there for Reddit for most of the brands that we work with within D2C and e-commerce. Um, Not to say it's not a thing, but for most of them, there's just much lower hanging fruit or important tasks to
mm,
be able to handle and master, such as
yeah,
like Facebook or TikTok or Google. Reddit would be something that I think that a lot of brands would go to. Maybe if there's something very, very, very specific, like records, or I don't know what they're called. They're like record playing machines that come inside of like a table. And there's some very specific like audiophile type of people that have specific needs, and they like very, very specific things. And if you got something very specific, I think that might be able to work around it being so specific. But still, a lot of people are going for Facebook and these other platforms first, and more often than not, they haven't mastered those platforms. Um, so it usually makes more sense to get one of the main platforms going and getting it stabilized before tackling another. But that's like an never ending process.
yeah, yeah. I wonder as well, people look at some of those platforms, Reddit, Quora, um, and I'll fixate on Reddit right now because you go and you do a search in Google, and I swear, they'll right in the top five certainly will be some Reddit post, right?
Yeah.
Ranking. But I do think that people kind of look at Reddit a little bit and still trying to figure out, you know, try to figure out how to be successful on that platform. What to do, and they're not, from an ad standpoint. It seems, and I don't know, I don't want to say it seems complicated, but I'm not. I looked at it myself for our own purposes. I'm like, I don't know how effective it is, and how to even try to figure out how to measure the effectiveness versus what you can do just organically through various kinds of posts and stuff. Because I've seen a lot of people do some really clever things on Reddit in driving traffic and conversions just by, their management and optimization, I will say, of their subreddits that they're operating and how they're posting on it. So why would you spend money on advertising on it at this point? I guess that's my a question or a thought anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I don't have too much input on Reddit just because we don't really deal with it much.
Yeah,
A lot of the things I've seen on both those platforms are very outlandish kind of scenarios, I guess I would say, like not get rich quick, but just like things like of that sort, some sort of flashy type of like blurb, and then you would click on that, and then you go to the website, and it's like kind of like
right,
just I don't know, I guess like more old school type of marketing of like what Google Ads used to be, where the copy was what you worked on to be able to drive in clicks and drive in traffic, and then your landing page was optimized, and it was like a really good landing page. But I don't have too much
mm,
insights there. You know, we're really good and experts on the platforms that we know, but if it's a platform that we don't know, I'll either refer that business out or just flat out say like, hey, we just don't do anything with it.
right, right. Question for you, and I've had this conversation a number of different times with folks on shows or in groups on Facebook. So this is a very in the weeds kind of thing. Um, on Facebook, where do you see uh, the best or better conversion when you're have your ad on Facebook and you're sending them off platform, to a landing page, or sending them through the Facebook form and a form conversion?
I think a lot of people might disagree, but I really don't like those Facebook lead forms. I think it generates so much crap and nonsense, and people that get amnesia when you call them. Versus like I just like somebody who's done some sort of self education,
Mm,
and they've shown some sort of action on their end versus like just the tap tap tap. They submit their name, lead
right.
form done. Granted, I know there's people out there that have automations behind those lead forms and things like that to further warm people up, and they do other things with leads. But I always just like just sending the lead to a page that's made specifically for them and specifically for the product to be able to answer any questions they might have, show some testimonials, have
Mm,
some trust and credibility badges on there,
hmm.
and then solve a problem. And then there's a form, name, phone, email, pretty much for the most part. You know, you can add in more questions depending upon the amount of junk you're getting on that stuff
Right,
to
right.
improve the quality. More questions usually mean better quality lead, more intent. So that's what I like doing. I like sending them to lead pages that
Mhm,
are made specifically for it, that are off platform.
mhm. Is that part of your service? You guys do that as an add-on to your, campaign management, developing the landing page?
Sometimes
Yeah.
we'll do it if we've got a client that like let's say they have an off season, like let's say you're in fishing and you sell some sort of fishing products, and
Mm,
you've got your main season where it's warm out, people are fishing, and then when the winter comes, they're not doing a whole lot of fishing, and it doesn't make sense to be spending a lot of your budget against your products when people aren't buying. So then
right.
in this kind of hibernation seasons, you'd want to be pushing people maybe to like an email opt in for a newsletter or discount off or giveaways or whatever it might be so that you can have a different type of goal when your season isn't in its main season and then the main season hits and then you reawaken that list of people you've been collecting those emails from and things like that.
Mhm, mhm. Uh, all right, so before we call this, a game, if you only had to work with one platform, if you like somebody pressed you like, "Andrew, you can only work with one," what would that be now?
Probably Facebook because
Mm,
it's the cheapest one to be able to run ads and get some sort of degree of success. It's the OG. It's been around the longest. It is still a bloody red ocean, but it's there because there's people still advertising on it. There's still a demographic there that you can reach. It skews a little bit older comparatively to like
mhm,
TikTok, for example. But with TikTok, the barrier of entry is going to be more prohibited because it's so content heavy, and you have to be cranking out content. And if I'm looking at like I've got a brand and a product, depending on that brand and product, of course, but because there's definitely like a product platform fit. I want to be able to test as much as humanly possible and figure out what I can with as little money as possible so that I can get to a point where I at least know that my ad is speaking to the right value propositions. It's got the right calls to action on it. Even the website traffic is being tested in a somewhat controlled manner. With TikTok, it's too difficult to start testing really quickly on there, and be able to have the agility that you need to spin up and spin down things without have even if you're getting on TikTok, even if you're getting a lot of videos to test, you're having to spend money on getting those videos and to pay
Yeah.
people. And even if let's say you're doing the videos and they're free, well, you're investing a lot of time, and time is important to me. And so you're investing a lot of time in coming up with these hooks and these ideas for videos and scripting things out, maybe potentially, and writing them out a little bit. So it's just very, very time and capital intensive compared to Facebook. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
a brand
Mm-hmm.
that's already been in existence and I've got Facebook pretty dialed in, it's rather stabilized, then I think the next step on that would either be Google or TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. I'm going to flash up your site. People go check him out. Andrew over at the monsteragency.com, doing a lot of great stuff. Big brands you're working with, generating a lot of revenue. I think I'm looking at your slide that you had from your presentation, over 250 million in generated revenue for
Yeah, I
clients
mean,
since
if that, I
2019.
feel like it's
That's
probably
huge.
more. I feel like it's probably beyond that, but I mean, that's just like a good benchmark. You stop
Yeah.
counting after so long and doing stuff and working with so many different brands.
Beautiful. All right, Andrew, man, thanks for jumping on the show. Appreciate it. It's like
Yeah,
an
likewise. I appreciate you
absolutely,
having me.
yeah, just a great conversation on the ad space and where it is and how to make it successful. So thank you so much. Yeah, folks, I think coming up next week on the show, we got Elder Cohen, I believe, is up next on docket. So join us next week, same time, hot off the press, Tuesdays at 10. Andrew, have a great week, brother.
Thanks, you too. See you, Randy.
All right. Thanks, everybody.